The Poco F2 Pro is an interesting smartphone. I happened to review this one back when it came out and I rather liked it. It was a different kind of phone to the original Poco phone, which focused on performance, where this was designed to be more of a well-rounded device. I liked it so much that a friend of the channel, Kelsey, actually bought one and is using it as his daily driver, as Damien Wald would love to hear. So, a year later, how is it going? Is it a good smartphone? Should you still buy one? You can get them pretty cheap these days. Is it worth going for it? Thanks to Damien Wald for sending out this smartphone for a review. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas and this is my Poco F2 review in 2021. The Poco F2 Pro goes for around £250 on eBay, which puts it in contention with the Galaxy S10, the P30 Pro and the iPhone X. That's some decent used smartphone hardware there. However, this is going to get you the most powerful smartphone for that price. It's got a Snapdragon 865 5G, 6 or 8 gigs of RAM, a 1080p OLED screen, a 4700 mAh battery with 30 watt fast charging, and a 64 megapixel main camera. It's a fantastic smartphone for the money when it comes to the raw power, and if you're really just after that, you should just go out and buy the F2 Pro. However, if you're after something that's more well-rounded and that's got more quality of life features, maybe stick around to hear what I have to say on those other aspects. Despite this being a year old and a flagship killer at that, the F2 Pro still looks pretty decent with some minimalist bezels, a curved back, a big centered camera module and a pop-up selfie camera. I happen to actually rather like this colour. I think the way that it reflects light is really interesting, and while it might not scream ultra premium in terms of its build quality, it does at least hold up in 2021. Even the in-display fingerprint scanner is better than the one that I used in the Mi 11 recently. A lot of the nice feeling comes from the display, which is a nice big 60Hz OLED. And you know what? 60Hz kind of seems like a dirty word to use these days when it comes to smartphone displays, but I think this one is good. It's not as quick nor as responsive as the premium 120Hz displays, but it's more than usable and I think strikes a good balance between using a budget-friendly and high-quality device. Of course, it's uninterrupted, meaning that you don't have a hole punch or a notch or a dewdrop notch, and you're going to get the full display regardless. It's not something I personally like because I don't really want a motorized module within my smartphone, but I know a lot of people, including Kelsey, who absolutely love this thing. It doesn't get the brightest, especially out in direct sunlight. It can be hard to read some stuff sometimes. However, a lot of smartphones are in the same boat, so I can't knock it too hard. The performance and battery life, on the other hand, are stellar. The processor is just a year old and was the best when it came out, and I would say to try and get the 8GB of RAM model because 6GB of RAM running Android 11 and beyond is going to be a bit of an issue as things go forward, just because Android is using more and more RAM. Otherwise, this thing is still a beast, and whether you're addicted to scrolling through social media or if you're an avid mobile gamer, the power is not going to be an issue. On that last point, I would say that if you are an avid mobile gamer, you should try and get a device with a high refresh rate display. And that's not a knock on the F2 Pro, but there are a lot of phones out there with high refresh rate displays these days, and it can make the games almost seem transformed in their performance, even if you're not getting any more frames per second. You'll find Xiaomi's MIUI 12.5 over top of Android 11 on the F2 Pro, which brings some marked changes to the original aesthetic. It's something that I experienced using the Mi 11 more recently with its new Android update, but it does make the phone seem more premium, I think, with its design decisions. There are the issues that I've explained in the past. I really don't like the settings menu, and I do think that having the notifications and the quick settings on two different screens that you access from two different ways, it's just not how I would like to experience Android. I'd much prefer sort of a one swipe for notifications, another swipe for the full quick settings pane, but there we are, and I'm sure a lot of people will feel differently to me. I think you mix in the sort of modern aesthetic of MIUI with the minimalist experience that is the hardware, and you get a really nice combination that I think seems quite futuristic, especially with those minimal bezels around the outside and no camera on the front whatsoever. It just looks really clean. The camera setup is very typical of an upper mid-ranger of the period, meaning that it focuses on one good main camera and then the selfie camera, and then the rest kind of just falls off. In this case, it's got a macro and a depth sensor to fluff out the spec sheet so that Xiaomi could call it a quad camera setup on the back, when in reality it's two cameras and two sweet potato wedges taped on for good measure. As for the samples, well, quality is naturally inconsistent between the main and the ultra-wide cameras due to the sheer difference in hardware quality. The images look pretty natural when it comes to colour contrast and white balance, given the situation is decent with okay lighting and not too much contrast to start with. And it's nice to see this, as a lot of mid-rangers do tend to accentuate these traits to look better on smaller screens. There's a decent amount of dynamic range throughout the images, and none of that forced HDR look that we often see these days, so that's nice. However, the ultra-wide images suffer from denoising artifacting, even in decent light, which was something I initially found on my review when it first came out, and it's something that this thing still suffers with. Portrait mode looks fairly decent, though the same can't be said for the night mode, which has been a Xiaomi downfall for a couple of years now. Images come out very noisy with a purple hue, and I generally would avoid using this thing at night or in very low light. So overall, regarding the camera, it's definitely not the best thing you can buy, but the main camera, given decent light, is good. It's fine, it's going to be enough for a lot of people. As long as you're not fussed about having good low light cameras or a huge camera suite, then this will be enough for you. So then, should you buy one of these? Well, like I said at the start, if you're a keen gamer, you love specs, you love your powerful hardware, and you're a fan of the overall design and Xiaomi MIUI, then yeah, go for it, because it's a lot of smartphone for the money. £250 getting you a smartphone with near enough flagship components. You're getting really good battery life. This thing, I forgot to mention, actually lasts me a day and a half on a battery, so that's good as well. I mean, the whole user experience is very good. However, if you crave a really good camera, and I mean like a brilliant camera, then you're not even going to be able to stay in the Xiaomi ecosystem unless you really go for sort of the ultra smartphones, because they have good cameras. If you're looking for something that's more well-rounded, maybe something that's got better cameras or that has better software, then you're looking at sort of the Pixel 4-ish sort of smartphone, which is better and worse in a lot of different ways. Or maybe an iPhone, sort of, you can get an iPhone 10 for this kind of money, and that again is worse in a lot of ways, but better in some ways. So it really does come to what you actually value in a smartphone. Me personally, I might use one of these. I mean, the in-display fingerprint scanner, it's not amazing. Like I said, it is better than the Mi 11, and I'll give it props for that. However, it's not as good as sort of the Samsung ones. And if I was to buy a smartphone with a fingerprint scanner, I think I'd really like it to be a capacitive one, something on the back or the side. I know Xiaomi has some options for that as well. So yeah, it does come down to what you actually value in a smartphone. But if you want something with a lot of power, I think you should go one of these. Anyway, I want to give a massive thanks to Damien Wild for sending out this smartphone for review. Really kind of him, so thank you so much. Do check out his social medias in the description, as well as my ones, which I'll place down there as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Please do like, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I will catch you later. Peace.